way how paid advertising works and YouTube ads work is we're actually pushing out content to people in a way as well. It's just a channel of getting people to those places. So YouTube ads is a channel of getting people to learn about us, to know about our content. So whether it's for tutoring companies or language schools or like any kind of education providers, YouTube ads is really amazing. And I'm going to tell you why. So some problems that we face in the education industry when we're trying to get more student enrollments or more students is the first thing, you don't have enough leads. The second thing is the leads are unqualified. So when like you do the advertisements in a way that is not very optimized, not in a most efficient way, what's going to happen is a lot of people speaking to you, to your team, the inquiries that you have, they are actually, maybe they say that your programs are too expensive, they don't have the financial resources, or they don't meet the requirements that you are looking for. So these are what we call as unqualified leads. So we definitely want to reduce these. And the third thing is, maybe we've heard a lot of language schools and also tutoring companies telling us about this, is before the pandemic, the students, maybe they were coming to in-person classes, but during the pandemic, and for some countries it's sort of after the pandemic right now, they realize that they can only come to online classes and they don't want to come to in-person classes if it's still available because they don't want to get infected. So a lot of past students are actually not returning because of that reason. And they need to look for new students. And what we usually say, how we usually classify these type of parents is, there's one type which prefers in-person classes, the other type prefers online classes, and the third type doesn't mind both of them. And that's probably the reason why for a lot of education providers, the student numbers, the past students, only half of them returned. After everything happened, only 50% of them returned. So it's so important to actually capture those people who don't mind coming in and don't mind coming to online classes. So that's why they're looking for new students right now. And the fourth thing is there's a high cost of acquisition. I think actually for Facebook ads as well, like since February, there was the iOS update. So the cost is higher these days. And how can you also leverage other platforms to achieve omnipresence, to show that you're everywhere, and using the retargeting that I saw one of the posts that Herbert was talking about, using retargeting, leveraging these different platforms to retarget people everywhere, to create brand awareness, to show to people that you have a good reputation, at least create that kind of image that you have good reputation, and to get people to come in. So that's very, very important. So I wouldn't say that, okay, you need YouTube ads and then you don't need Facebook ad. I wouldn't say that. You need to leverage different things together. So the big question is, how do you increase your enrollments in a cost-effective way? So it's actually through YouTube ads. And I love to say YouTube ads is an underdog. So doing a quick research online, there's only a couple of education providers doing this right now. One of them is actually Purdue University. For tutoring companies, I haven't seen that a lot doing YouTube ads right now. And language schools, there's not a lot either. And I love to say that they are the underdog. It's still underutilized, mostly because it's very robust. It's quite complex in the back end on how to do this right. I'm going to tell you how to do this later. So like it's the underdog, it's severely, I would say it's underpriced as well, because not a lot of people are advertising there right now. So YouTube ads is the underdog for the education industry as well, because for the education industry, as an education provider, we want to showcase our campus, if we have any, our classrooms, our environment, even something like if you're using LearnCube as a platform, you want to showcase how the classes are like, and you want to showcase the teaching quality and all these things. Using videos on YouTube ads or using videos in general, we can actually tell people how it's actually like the environment, how the whole experience is. So that's why I love to say YouTube ads is the underdog. So to do YouTube ads, the cost is quite low. It's usually around $30 per lead or so. And then the second one is the videos, right? When we're using the videos, we can actually build that kind of relationships. As we all know, to turn a stranger into a lead or inquiry and turn them into an enrollment or a sign up, it requires relationship building. If you have a good relationship with people, then there's a high chance that they're going to turn into enrollments. We always talk about the like, know, and trust factor. And using this, you can actually jumpstart that journey. And also for YouTube ads, you can actually target people based on the household income. Let's say top 50%, under 50%. Of course, you don't want to target the under 50%, right? Because there's a very high chance that they're not going to enroll. And that's how we improve the quality of leads that we get and the inquiries that we get. And the fourth thing is, of course, you can actually showcase who you truly are. Like I said before, it's using videos. You can actually showcase like clips of the environment and campus and teaching quality and everything like that. So to achieve that kind of omnipresence so that you can appear everywhere to people and leverage on these different platforms. So some of the pitfalls, I also know that like for Facebook ads, you can actually post videos as well. But the way to do videos for Facebook ads and YouTube ads is actually different because the intention is different. For Facebook ads, people are there to socialize. So they're there to network. So the way to do Facebook ads is different. It's more like capturing their attention. And for YouTube ads is more of an intention base. A lot of times, especially for tutoring companies and language schools, people are on YouTube to, they're curious about something or they want to learn about something. So the intention is different. So usually for YouTube ads, when we're doing the advertisements, we try to focus more on being helpful to people. For Facebook ads, it's more it's not as much needed for Facebook ads. So that is like the key of actually leveraging the YouTube ads platform. So for YouTube ads, there's actually a few elements towards that. It's why I say it's quite complex, but it's also very good that it's complex because YouTube ads is actually the second largest search engine in the world after Google. And Google actually bought YouTube. And YouTube, when we're using YouTube ad, we're actually leveraging all the data that Google has. So let's say people type something on Google, and then you could actually use YouTube ads to target those people who type something on Google using that kind of database, using those analytics. So with YouTube ads, there's actually a few things. The first thing we need to nail if you do decide to do YouTube ads is the targeting. The targeting, as in one of the things we mentioned is the household income, and we've got the demographics and all the things like that. But what's very interesting is you can actually target people by the keywords that they search on Google. You can target by their intention of being interested in what you have to offer. Intention as in they can actually predict and show your ads to people who are very likely to be interested in what you have to offer, whether you're offering a class, a trial class, a webinar, whichever. So there's like keywords and there's topics. You can actually target people by the topics that they're interested in. For example, if there are very interesting things. It's just a bit similar to it's basically Google Ads platform, but even more robust. There's more settings that you can do. So topics like people who are looking for tutoring, people who are looking for studying abroad, you can do that. So you can target those topics as well. So there's different ways of targeting, and it's very interesting. And the most interesting concept we like to talk about for YouTube ads is you can actually layer on those kind of targeting. So Facebook ads, how we call that is like narrow audience, right? A bigger pool of people, and then you narrow those people down. And for YouTube ads, it's very interesting because you can actually layer on those people, let's say a certain household income, top 50%, and then layer on with the ones with a certain intention, let's say, or a topic, let's say study abroad. So you can layer on these people. It's very interesting. And so because with all these different settings, you'll need to test them out on which interest or which kind of targeting works the best. So that's the first thing about the targeting. The second thing is when we're on YouTube ads, the interesting thing is you have the YouTube video itself, the advertisement itself. When you're creating the advertisements, again, one of the most important thing is how to be helpful, how to be useful, but at the same time, get them interested in clicking on the ad to be on the landing page, to be on the web page. Right? People arrive on the web page. After they arrive on the web page, how do you capture their information? So the way how we do landing pages is how we do the web page is also different from other platforms as well, just because the intention is very different. So these are basically the two things that you have to nail in order to make YouTube ads work for you. So definitely YouTube ads is the underdog right now. And if you're interested in leveraging this, you can actually go to, I'll actually drop my email in the chat box, and then you could contact me there to learn a bit more about that. We have a webinar next week as well to talk a bit more about this because we don't have much time here. So I look forward in seeing you there.
Fantastic. Thank you, Vivien. I know that we're going to have a few follow-up questions for you for sure. I mean, I'll jump out there as well. So Vivien, first of all, really enjoyed that, and I'd kind of like to, one of the big ideas you had was this idea of intention of the video. So am I right? Firstly, the positioning of the YouTube videos, they are the ones that play automatically at the start of whatever it is that you were searching for. Is that right?
Yes. So actually, it's very interesting. For YouTube ads, there's different ways of advertising. Okay, so for example, you're watching you type into YouTube, and then you want to watch a video talking about how to write IELTS essays. Right? Let's say you type that in, and one of the things is exactly what you said just now, is you can actually hijack the traffic of your competitors. I love to say that, because you can actually have your advertisement shown right before their video. Okay. So when we do that, the first 30 seconds when people watch the video, you don't have to pay anything. If they don't click on the ad, if they don't, basically, if they don't click on the ad, or they skip the ad right before 30 seconds, you don't pay anything. So that is called the skippable in-stream ad. And then there's also other kinds of advertisements. For example, the non-skippable ones. Non-skippable ones is you play right in front of those videos, and then you can't skip it, but the cost is of course higher because you get charged because you can't skip it, right? And then there's also the display advertisements, which you can show on the search results, right on top of people's search results. And then there's also advertisements which you can do on the sides as well. So there's many different ones, but the ones that I like the most for education providers is the one that you just mentioned.
Right. I'll just have a see if anyone else has got some questions as well. If you're listening in, definitely pop in your questions, Herbert or Corinne.
Sure. I have a question for Vivien. I mean, when it comes to using videos on Facebook and Instagram, usually we keep them quite short. maximum 30, 45 seconds. That's obviously very different for YouTube. What would you recommend in terms of the video length?
The video length, definitely we need to be more than 30 seconds, especially when we want to leverage that one. Otherwise, you get charged. So we like to save money a little bit. So actually, you could do it at different lengths work well. We like to do it above five minutes.
Wow,
some
nice.
of them, we've seen some that work well with like 20 minutes as well. We've seen those because we want to provide the value and then show to people how we can help them. So it's like doing a YouTube video, like when it's like posting a normal video on YouTube, and we want to capture people's attention. But a little bit different is that, like for the YouTube ads, I think one of the most important things is when we're doing that, we don't want to focus on making people watch the whole video. Our aim is to get people to click on the landing page. But a longer video doesn't really matter, but I would suggest above 5 minutes.
Nice.
I also have a question. I'll jump right in there. When we're talking about creating these videos for YouTube, how professional do they have to be? Do they have to be, do we have to spend a lot of money to like get a film crew in, or or is it just as effective to do something a bit more in-house with a decent camera?
I would say it's actually different for different businesses and depends on the audience. So what we like to do is, like, whenever we're working with education providers, we love to have a blank slate. We don't like to assume anything. So sometimes very basic videos, let's say like a talking head video, like of just one person with a white background, it could work very well. Or sometimes you might want to change your background, but you can just use your iPhone to take it. But we need to test different things. We're not sure which one would be the one that brings in most conversions, brings in the most enrollments. So other things that we like to test is, for example, like just a presentation screen. Sometimes it works well. We want to test the accent, who's talking behind that. That's another thing we want to test. Presentations are really great because you don't need equipment, basically. Just record it on your computer. And then there's also ones that, of course, we do the more professional ones as well. But I would suggest that for education providers, if they want to start testing things out, especially when they are quite, they want to show that kind of reputation that they have, definitely kind of maybe asking a friend to have like a good quality camera. Doesn't have to be very, very professional, just has to be a good quality camera with good imaging, good videos, right? Doesn't have to be very professional. We can do that as well. And then the other thing is the presentation, because you don't need much of the other equipment. So we definitely need to test out different things. Especially when students are of different age groups, that's also another thing to consider. If you're a language school that focuses more on older students, then maybe they want presentations more. But if you're focusing on younger students and then you want to focus on like their parents, then you want to use like a different type of things. So definitely I would say testing is the way to go.
That's great. Vivien, I was also sort of wondering, again, going back to that intention, if you're looking at search terms, right? Let's say it was support with math, right? Because those people that are looking for support with math for my, 8-year-old, they might be looking for tutoring services as an example. How close do you want to get your video to match the intention? Because it would drive me, it already drives me insane when I have to watch a YouTube video ad just before the thing that I'm wanting to see. It's like so out of it. I'm wanting to watch the Olympics and then something else pops in and I'm like, get out of the way. It's like I'm hovering, just waiting to be able to get through that. What's your suggestion there?
There's a couple of things we can do when we're doing YouTube ads. The first thing, we can actually exclude certain placements. Let's say we can exclude people who are watching Olympics. And then when you're optimizing, there's actually a report showing people where these ads have been shown on. So let's say if you type in support in math, what's going to happen, sometimes it might reach videos about the Olympics. And then what's going to happen, you can actually see the report and see which of these placements get your ads a lot. And you can actually exclude those placements so that they stop showing to them. So that's how to optimize it. And how close should the keywords be? There's different types of keywords for YouTube ads. There's the one support in math. It is more, I would say, a bit quite long tail. There's also like longer keywords. Let's say 3 to 5, above 3 words. I would say a longer tail keyword. But there's also like shorter keywords. Let's say 1 word or 2 words. Let's say tutoring. That would be a very more general, broader keywords. So when we're doing YouTube ads, we want to have a mixture of these different keywords. So we cannot control where YouTube ads will show the videos. If you use the keyword setting, we cannot control where YouTube ads will show them. They will try to show the advertisements to the people who are most likely to be interested in your keyword, but you cannot control which placements, we call them placements, which videos they show to. However, if you do want to show exactly to only to those people watching to that certain video, you can actually do something called a placement targeting. So what you can do is actually you can go on YouTube, and there's some other tools as well. You can actually go on YouTube and let's say, I only want to show my video to some videos that are related to support in math. So you type into YouTube, let's say support in math, and then there's a list of videos about support in math. And you see one video that talks about math tutoring, how to deal with trigonometry. And you want to pop your ad into there. You take that link, you pop it into YouTube ads, the YouTube ads dashboard, and that's how you can actually push your ads to that video, exactly to that video.
Vivien, actually also, what would you recommend in terms of a budget to start with to get meaningful feedback? And also maybe some tips about how to start without getting super diluted with your messaging or your testing.
What do you mean by super diluted?
Well, if you try and put in $20, trying to run 3 experiments is not going to be a very good trade. So yeah, the more money you have, the more experiments you can run and get meaningful data. Like this, you can't make a judgment on whether 10 people saw it and 1 person clicked. You're going to need a certain level where you'll feel more comfortable.
Yes. So how we do it, I think like for YouTube ads, the most important thing is actually the video itself. It couldn't be too bad. Like if it's too bad, it doesn't work in the education industry. I know it works well for other industries, but it doesn't work very well for the education industry. So it has to be quite decent. Let's say having a friend using the camera or even a presentation style. So to start easily, I would actually start with doing a presentation style first, just to test that out. But because you don't have to do the makeup and like everything like that, right? And it's easy to get started. And business owners and teachers present every single day. So it's something that they're very comfortable with. And definitely to start with that, I would take two videos. Something that focuses more on helping those people, something that relates to the keyword, let's say support in math, that video would be related to support in math. And then to actually test out, we would do one campaign and then one advertising campaign with 2 of those advertisements, 1 audience. And then you start with roughly $15 a day just to test out. I love to start slow. Because we don't want to waste money. And afterwards, when we test out what works, what audience, we need to test out what ad works, what video ad works, and what targeting works. So these are the two things that we need to test. So let's say one ad campaign, one audience, two advertisements, $15. And if you want to do additional testing, then you can create different campaigns with different audience, but the same two ad videos.
Got it.